Hello everyone, today we will start a coverage of a very important and interesting book about chess and games. And it's not about theoretical chess and games games that you might never see in your life. It's about practical end games, and it's about one of the best players ever in end games, was Capablanca, one of the previous world champions. So in this book, the book is covering the 60 best endings for Capablanca, and in this video we will start with the first one, and actually will not pay too much attention to the opening phase or even to the middle game phase, because it's actually improved or finished very quickly. After f5, Capablanca is just playing very simple chess, e4, knight c3, and wanted to get the pawn back. Knight f6, bishop g5, wanted to take back and then take the pawn. And here in this position, c6 is played in order to play d5 and support the pawn. So here, Capablanca played bishop takes f6. You might ask, why not d5 right away to protect the pawn? And the answer is bishop takes f6. And after e takes f6, there's this idea of queen h5 check. You need to go g6, it's kind of forced, and after queen d5, queen takes d5, knight takes d5, and a pawn will be lost next. That's why c6, and that's why bishop takes f6 is played, and after e takes f6, knight takes e4. d5, Corzo played Capablanca's opponent, and now knight g3. And in order to simplify the position, black plays queen e7. And let's go for the end games. Queen e2. Queen takes e2, bishop takes e2, bishop d6, knight f3, continuing the development, castling, and bishop g4. It seems that black has the two bishops advantage, but one of the actually conditions for the two bishops to be very strong advantage is to have a dynamical pawn structure, a pawn structure that's not symmetrical. Like in this position, we have 3 against 3, and we have 4 against 4, and it's kind of identical actually. So that decreases the value and the ability of the two bishops. So after bishop g4, h3, Capablanca played bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, bishop takes g3, f takes g3, and it seems like a very dull game, you know. I mean, this is not interesting at all, but here where the fun just begins. After f takes g3, knight d7, rook f e1, improving the rook, and after rook a to e8, king f1, and actually this is a very important rule in end games. You need to use your king in the middle game, and in the opening you have to be confused whether to play king h2 or king h1. Is it safer here or safer here? But in the end game, you need to use, not to save your king. Now king f1 is played to improve the king. Now black played a very interesting strategy, which is f5. In order to put all the pawns on the same color as the bishop, so the pawns will restrict this bishop, which is very interesting strategy, but it's a dangerous one. Now Capablanca exchanged rooks, and after rook e1, king e1, and knight f6. And after knight f6, another very important aspect in chess endgames, which is actually some maybe misconception in many or for many chess players, especially not very strong players, that in endgames there's no calculations, no tactics. Tactics only in the openings and in the middle game, which is actually completely incorrect. Here, Capablanca played king d2, but in order to play king d2, you need to calculate the active move, which is knight e4 check, because it seems that white is losing a pawn, or after bishop takes e4, f takes e4, black will have a connected passed pawn or protected passed pawn. After f takes e4, you cannot actually move your king away, because whenever the king go to a5, c5 in the future, this pawn will be a queen. That's why this is something you need to avoid. But does that mean white will lose a pawn? No, because Capablanca calculated. So calculation is a very important idea. He calculated, like, I can go king e3, and after knight takes g3, I can go king f4, but calculation did not stop here. After knight f1, if the pawn is taken, and there's this idea of knight e3 check, and the pawn and the king will be forked. That's why here in this position, Capablanca calculated bishop f1 first, making use of the fact that the king is still covering the e3 square. So after knight d2, now and only now, I can take king takes f5, and now in this position, white is almost winning. So let's go back. King d2 is played and knight e4 actually happened, and then king e3. Black realized he cannot take that pawn, and he went back knight d6. Now we need to mention something that we should have mentioned earlier. When you have a bishop, or when you're playing an endgame, a bishop versus a knight, normally in most of the cases, if we have two pawn, not two pawn islands, but two pawn, let's say pawns on both sides, we do have pawns on king side and pawns on queen side, then this actually serves and gives more value to the bishop over a knight. But if we only have pawns on one side, for example, if these three exchanged with these three, then a knight normally have more chances, or has more chances to the bishop. So after king e3, knight d6, now bishop e2 is played. After bishop e2, king f7 happened, and king f4. Wanted to improve the king. Black said, oh, you cannot improve anymore. And I want to push you back. But Capablanca said, no, you cannot push me back. And now you might say, okay, but wait a second. Now there's h6 with g5. And this is actually what we are learning here. We learned that every single pawn push must be carefully calculated and must be carefully paid attention to. h6 now, it's incorrect move, because now I do have h5, and playing h5 now, I kind of disconnect the g7 pawn with the e5 pawn. You cannot go g6 forever. Whenever you go g6, I will take h takes g6. And that's actually taught you something in the opening, actually, because such kind of thinking you will take throughout your game. Even throughout the opening, you might say, or you might start thinking in this way, I don't want to do this because in the end game, I will lose the ability to do that. And this is something common in the opening structures, not to play h6 and allow h5. And it's actually for those who played the King's Indian, it happens there. Like when black plays a5, normally white went to b3, a3, then b4, because if you went a3 right away, then there is this idea of a4, which is going to be a very strong advantage in the end game. So let's get back to the game. After h4, Corzo played g6. Why? He wanted to go h6 followed by g5. Capablanca smelled that, and he went to play g4. Either you take and you improve my bishop, or whenever you go h6, I wanted my king to stay here and we'll go g5. And this is what Capablanca played. After h takes g5, h takes g5, the king has to go, or has not to go to the most probably obvious move, which is king e6. Because after g4, whenever you take, the bishop will be here and the king will be along the diagonal. That's why king e7 is played. And now Capablanca played a very interesting move, g4. Why g4? In order to open the diagonal against the g6 pawn. After f takes g4, here Capablanca did not reply with the automatic move king takes g4, but he played bishop d3. And after bishop d3, Capablanca said, this is actually easier to be taken. It cannot be defended. And if I manage to take the g6 pawn, then I will have a passed pawn. And here black played a kind of a smart move, though it's risky. He should play simply king f7. And the game is still equal. But he played a very interesting move, which is knight f5. I am defending the pawn, and in the meantime, I am attacking on d4. But you might ask me, wait a second, I can win that pawn. No, you cannot. Because after bishop takes f5, g takes f5, king takes f5, oi, you're losing after g3. And this is a queen, and this is not a queen. Actually, I have king f7, but even if I queen first, and you don't have queen. Ooh. So after knight f5, Capablanca took here on g4. And after king takes g4, believe it or not, white is almost winning. Or he does have 1.5 plus advantage. It's kind of magic, right? So after king takes g4, the only move is to move the knight away. Because if the knight is protected, I simply can take, and then after king f4, now we do have the concept of zugzwang in the end game, which is very, very important concept and very important idea. It's rarely happened in the opening and in the middle game. I will just try to give you the move whenever you don't have a very good move. Like here in this position, If it's black to move and he has to move the king, he will be losing. Otherwise, he's doing very good. But actually, I do have more moves than you. For example, if you go a5, I go b3. If you go b5, I go a3. a4, b4, and now you have no more moves. While I do have even c3 move. So that's why after king takes g4, you cannot allow bishop takes f5, and black understood this, and he took on d4. But then, we do have a outside passer here. This is a very dangerous pass pawn. Black said it's fine. I mean, I cannot lose the game because of this passer. Actually, I do have a passer to the other side, to the queen side. So let's start pushing them. King h5 improving the king, knight e6, king h6 improving the king, and king f8. And now Capablanca played bishop to f5, attacking the knight, knight g7 attacking the bishop, and now bishop c8. And after b6, g6 improving the bishop, d4 happened. And now in this position, Capablanca played a very nice blockading strategy. He said, okay, I have a passer, but in order not to create a passer for my opponent, I need to block these pawns. How to do that? b3. The c2 pawn stops d3. The b3 pawn stops c4. And after king g8, you can now guess the move. a4. Now I am fixing your pawns, so I am stopping your counterplay on the other side of the board, while still I am the one who's doing problems on the king side, who has the passer there. But black said it's fine. I mean, I cannot lose the game because I just keep moving the king here and there, and it's just a draw. Capablanca said it's fine. I'll take it step by step. Bishop g4 back, knight e8, trying king h7, because if you move your king away, g7 will be winning, but knight g7. Black is not cooperative. No problem. King h6. Knight e8, bishop e2 again. Blockade, yeah? You cannot move any of your pawns. Knight g7. And here's another idea. In the endgame, normally, there is a concept which is very important to take whenever you are playing endgames, and whenever you have a slight advantage, is to the two weaknesses principle. You need to create two weaknesses in order to win. This is considered to be a weakness for black, because it's something that black needs to defend against. So one weakness is not enough. If you keep trying to promote your pawn or win the game because of the g6 pawn, that's impossible. Never try. The other strategy that Capablanca knew, and you and we need to know here, is the fact that we need to create another problem, and normally the other problem will be on the other side. So we have a weakness on the king side. That's good. Let's take it there, or let's keep it there, and let's go to the other side. Bishop c4 first. Let's improve the bishop. Do not rush. Knight e8, king g5, and after king g5, black played king e7. The point is that I want to prevent your king to go to the queen side. Fair enough. King f5, knight g7 check, king e5. And now I cannot actually go to the queen side yet. Knight h5, bishop e2 attacking in the knight, knight g7, and now king d5, threatening king d5 and king b7 start taking pawns. But now knight e8. Question, why not king d7? Because bishop g4 is very strong. And after king c7, here is something we have talked about before. The idea of zugzwang. And actually this idea, whenever you gain it and whenever it becomes part of your thinking process, you can easily see here, black cannot move. Black is paralyzed. If the knight moved, then I will improve my king and win the game. For example, if I play just a waiting move like bishop h3, if you move your knight away, then king e6, king f7, and I will queen. If the king moved, I will go king c6 or d6. Like for example, if you go to, after bishop h3, if you go to b7, then I go king d6, and then I am coming, and I'm winning the game. So the king cannot move, and the knight cannot move. Oh, that's why king d7 did not play, and black played knight e8. Now Capablanca improved the king, and he applied, or he achieved the second weakness. Two weaknesses principle. Knight g7, king b7 attacking. Black now tried to limit the damage after king takes a7, king c7. But now king e6. And now knight e8. And now what's interesting about this position, Capablanca knew the idea is going to be a5. But he did not want to go a5 and to exchange pawns. No. The attacker the one who's trying to win the game in the end games, should not exchange pawns. Because if we exchange these 3 pawns to these 3, then I will just sacrifice my knight to that pawn and I will draw, or black will draw. That's why here, after knight e8, white took all his time. Like bishop f3, it's fine, I'm waiting, I'm not in a hurry. Knight g7, bishop d5, knight e8, bishop f7, and after knight g7, now he went back king b5. After knight f5, now a5 is just played. Knight d6 check, simply king a6, b takes a5, but after b takes a5, I do have this simple idea, which is g7, because as you can see, like now I'm threatening here and I'm threatening here. You cannot protect both, yeah? And if you don't go knight d6, if you take here, I can simply take to c5. This is actually a weakness, this is a weakness, and the 2 pawns most likely will be taken, or at least I will have another passer after taking the d4 pawn. So after a5, knight d6 check, king a6, b takes a5, g7, black just resigned the game because g8 is going to be a queen. This is the first episode. I hope you like it. Please express that in the comments and like this video, and you can always check our videos. We talked about the openings. We made a very nice Reti opening repertoire and Queen's Gambit as well, and we're willing to continue in this channel. So thanks for supporting, and see you in another one.